Okay, this is going too far. And in a way, this is why I say to some degree we have bigger fish to fry as far as things go in the world of video gaming than what's going on with Anita Sarkeesian. And no, this isn't going to be any more indictments of her. As I said, I'm going to watch her second video whenever that comes out with an open mind and hope that maybe Miss Sarkeesian can change her ways. But frankly, I don't care because this, in a way, is sort of a addendum. This is going to be an addendum to my effects on video gamers, part of my indictment of the gaming series, video games in the gaming industry, because I did a piece which has a playlist called Effects of Video Games on Gamers or something of that nature on my channel page with where my playlists were, thanks to the new layout. That's not exactly something that's front and center, but I digress. I'm not going to get into a discussion about the new layout because, frankly, I simply don't care. Even if it's draining my channel of views, I simply don't care. But on this, I do care because I'm so sick of you, Sandy Hook folk, or investigators. Investigators. Let me make this clear. Investigators, because I don't want to get hate mail from people who are like, "How dare you, sir? These people lost some of their children in this." I get that. I am a parent too. I sometimes try to put myself in the place of what would happen if I lost my son for any particular reason, and it would devastate me. But this is not the way forward. What am I talking about? I'm talking about this article that needs to be a piece of an addendum because this needs to be countered. This needs to be said. The line needs to be drawn here and now and no further. Yes, I am that angry because I am sick to death of the obsession that these people have with trying to stretch the truth to try to fit that video games caused the Sandy Hook shooting. And if you seriously, truly believe that in the face of scientific evidence, you can take a very long walk off a very short pier. Sandy Hook shooter allegedly trying to beat a high score. The only game hurting society is the blame game. This is an article by Jim Sterling, but I had read this also on another site. I believe it was Newsers that had also talked about this, that initially pissed me off this much. An anonymous law enforcement veteran claims the Sandy Hook shooter was comparing high scores of previous mass murderers and intended to beat a record. According to this totally responsible and not at all reckless source, Sandy Hook was entirely, quote, the work of a video gamer, end quote. The New York Times, Daily Times has the story where it explicitly states that the shooter, again, I'm not going to name the name of the shooter because I'm not going to feed the infamy, had a score sheet that he was attempting to dominate. Quote, we were told the killer had around 500 people on this sheet, claims the unnamed lawman. Quote, names and numbers of people killed and weapons that were used, even the precise make and model of the weapons. It had to have taken years. It sounded like a doctoral thesis. That was quality research. Quote, they don't believe this was just a spreadsheet. They believe it was a score sheet. Let me read that quote to you one more time in case you are hard of hearing or hard of understanding. And I'm sorry, but I am tired of being respectful in this situation. I am tired of catering to people who just don't care about facts. They don't believe this was just a spreadsheet. They believe it was a score sheet. This was the work of a video gamer, and that it was the intent to put his own name at the very top of that list. You can read the rest of the article linked down below. We've already talked about how investigators found out that the shooter from the Sandy Hook massacre was trying to outdo Anders Breivik. Now, this spreadsheet was found, yes, but none of this points to video gaming, and if anything, the only thing we've ever been able to substantiate in this case is that the shooter's friends talked about how obsessed with Dynasty Warriors the shooter was. Dynasty Warriors. For those not in the know, Dynasty Warriors is a historical battle simulator where you go around, typically without guns, fighting in ancient Chinese, unless he was playing Dynasty Warriors Gundam, which does have guns. But even so what? This is not causation or correlation. It is none of these things. I've already talked in great depth about the non-existent link, scientifically or academically speaking, between violent video games and violent behavior. And once again, this is trying to take away the responsibility that the shooter themselves have for this crime, and are stretching, like Stretch Armstrong, to try to apply the idea that video games were the cause. Look, I'm as big a critic of the gaming industry as you will find. As my series progresses, you will find out why. But I'm not about to indict the gaming industry for something they had no part in. They're more obsessed with video games than most obsessive video gamers. And this helps nobody. This is not going to lead to a solution to future massacres. This isn't going to bring those kids back, and this certainly is not the way that adults carry themselves. You have been told, Sandy Hook investigators, time and time again, that you are barking up the wrong tree. We have people who are in your field who have also studied video games and the effects on youth and found no link between violent crimes and any video game playing, even if it were Grand Theft Auto. And yet you are wasting your state's money, this family's grief, at wanting to find an answer to why this happened, on trying to prove that it was video games the entire time. You are sick. You are disgusting individuals, and I'm sorry, but any further sympathy I had for the situation, not the families who lost things, but just the situation, has all but absolved. Stop it. You are wasting everybody's time, you are wasting everybody's money, and you are not finding solutions, definitely not meaningful solutions. You're slinging mud at something that you cannot substantiate, any more than you could substantiate the, oh, I wonder if Lanza was acting out or thought that he was in a video game simulation. That's conjecture. That wouldn't stand up in the court of law, and this shouldn't stand up in the court of public opinion. You are being stupid, and worse than that, you are being hate mongers for something you have no understanding of. You're trying to make a link that is not there. Meanwhile, there are people who are grieving, who are looking to you for actual, real, and factual answers, and you're giving them anything but that. I'm sorry. I never wanted to make a shouty, all rage caps video about this. And yes, as people like my associate James 1978 with his recent video about the lives of rapists illustrates, there are bigger fish to fry. But in a way, that's kind of the point. There's bigger fish to fry, and you're stringing along grieving families for your own agenda. You are absolutely disgusting, Sandy Hook investigators, and I hope everybody knows it because you are slime, you are scum, you are worse than scum.